Alright, hello everyone. I am going to continue here with part number 6 of the guide here for the brand new guest account that I have. You can see kind of where I left off from last time. And we're just going to try to earn some chests here today. Try to continue in Tour 4. Hopefully, maybe be able to keep our basic ball on. A little bit out clubbed in these early going here, but hasn't been too much of an issue. More so than anything, you just want to focus on keeping the ball in play. On holes like this, it would be ideal to get this out here as far as possible. And what I'll typically try to do is a hook shot. My accuracy is very, very low right now. So there's about 5 rings. I'm going to go maybe about here. And just hook this as hard as I can. It's about 7-ish rings. And what this typically lets me do is just kind of cut the corner just a little bit better, as you can see. So that typically gives you the extra length to hopefully be able to not only extra length but also extra turn to the right. If you wind up somewhere over in here, it becomes a little bit harder hole. And my opponent here has quite a few games under his belt, which is, you know, it makes life on me a little bit harder. Similar, you can see he's also using vintage ball, which, you know, also makes things just a little bit tougher for me because I'm only on a basic ball. But my drive's very good, so hopefully, you know, with the extra length and everything, an extra corner that I have that I've essentially taken off, should be able to reach the green here. And what I typically do in the early going is just kind of use this stop here. And more so than anything, I just want to kind of hit it into this face with a significant amount of curl. So all I'm trying to do is just try to get it somewhere up onto the green. And if it doesn't roll down, that may be okay as well. It looks like it does hang up on the fringe. Hopefully I should be okay because I'm so tight to the hole that it doesn't matter if you're pitching. But you do want to typically avoid pitching in these early levels. So here you'll see my opponent kind of going the alternate way. This way can you can also utilize that side hill here. So let's see how this looks. Looks like it actually clipped the rough. Might have a good opportunity here to maybe pick up a win. So let's just see how this looks. If the bullseye target is smaller than the hole, which it is, I'm just going to go ahead and dunk this in. And just put my line into the hole, kind of like that. Won't need to play wind this close. You can see I could just drop it in there. Even with a great ball on either side, it would have had enough tolerance because you could see that that inner ring was inside the circle. So, and there you can see, opponent's shot goes off to the side, able to pick up a win here. You can also see that I'm starting, I did clan up, so I'm starting to get extra trophies with my victories. So let's keep going. That's definitely one of the harder holes that you probably don't want to see in the early going. You can see with that hook shot that I did on that last one, I probably, with that hook shot, probably went 7 to 8 rings because there's no accuracy on my extra mile right now. Now, one of the things that I can get away with on this hole, especially with the tailwind. Oh, did I not set the club up? Oh, yeah, I don't have it yet. That's right. That's going to be risky. So I'm going to really need some curl on this one just to kind of be safe, more safe than sorry. Man, if I could do what I want to do, it'd really be nice. So what I'll typically do is just try to position this more than anything. I'm going to utilize this curl kind of as much as I can. See, very, very little overpower. I really don't go for length on this hole. It's more about positioning. I'd rather just ensure that I keep it into the fairway and not challenge that neck too much. So this is going to put me kind of at a tough distance, but it's enough to get to the hole. And that's all I kind of want to do, is make sure that I don't challenge this neck and go in the rough, because that's how you pretty much throw away a game on the spot. If you hit the rough on this tee shot, you will lose, is essentially what it comes down to. So with that in mind, you can see I went with the Marlin ball just for a little bit of extra curling ability, mainly because I just don't want to go in this rough. And you can see my opponent is shooting over to the rough. As I mentioned, if you go in the rough, as you can see, that just caught the rough, probably going to lose. It's the only thing that you can't do. As you can see, all I'll need to do is just kind of aim this down the fairway, especially with the extra wind here. Maybe about 2 backspin, I'm thinking. And you can see, it's all about just kind of getting to the hole, more so than anything. On that tee shot, I recommend, probably at least another 10 yards on what I just did off the tee. With the limited ball guide, it's very, very tough to see how it's going to roll out. And, I didn't get the most generous bounce either. It was more of that checkup bounce that I got. But you can see a lot of these holes are very, very challenging. If you can just kind of manage to play through the holes without making a mistake, it's the biggest key in the early going. Because you'll see a lot of your opponents, with an errant tee shot or just a little bit off or a little bit too aggressive approach. That's one of the reasons that I just kind of lay up on that one. Because you can see if I put it in the rough, I'm essentially dead versus, the way that I played it. I basically just, made sure that I could get to the green and just take care of getting my birdie the eagle, and avoiding the birdie, because that's the one, definite way to really put a lot of pressure on yourself. And you can see I start to get these Tour 4 chests coming in. I may try to play for 1 gold chest. We'll see. So hole 5, Milano. This can be a little bit of a challenging hole. We did see this in the last part stream. If you didn't check that out, we got straight into the face. So I believe I did some kind of rough bump last time. Getting to the second island out here, I kind of actually liked that shot because with these early clubs, I just don't really have the backspin that I want to be able to go over to here and make the shot. So one of the things that I may try to do is just bump it up there and try to replicate what I did last time. But we'll see. Let's just take a look here. Perfect ball. As I mentioned, getting it over there is, I mean, it might seem like an okay shot, but how are you going to make it from there? That's the biggest question mark. So what I'm going to try to do is hopefully just roll it onto this island a little bit. You can see with what I'm doing with the ball guide, try to just get it to clip there. And maybe about here. Perfect ball. Just get it to skip up into this fairway here. You'll see that this fairway has a lot of undulation to it. Very, very tough to get this ball on line. Extremely tough. You can see all the different fairway bounces that it's giving him because it's kind of changing the guide as he goes up on the slope. You can see it's not very consistent. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I avoid going that way. The wind's almost so small, you could essentially just kind of go for a dunk as well. You can see adding a little bit of power, it's going to completely change your line. So you do want to avoid doing that. But what I'm going to try to do is very, very similar to what I did last time. And the wind is so small, this is actually very, very good. So last time I did, right around 3 on the top spin. So that's more or less what I'm going to shoot for. Other than that, it's just kind of getting the alignment down the way that I want it. You can see that the wind's just a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of shoot this over just a tiny. Oh, so just missing that one. So let's see how we get on this shootout here. See what hole we get first. Ugh. Challenging one. Very similar wind to last time. Going to do a very, very similar shot. I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 2.5 rings with some curl. So you'll see, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put three rings up into the fairway. I do want to just kind of protect. Perfect ball with some curl. And not too bad overall. Should be a bit tougher. It looks like my opponent doesn't quite have the Viper that I do. It's a little bit tougher for him to probably stop the ball. Probably secured the win. I think he has just, you know, half a bar less backspin than I do, which means that he basically can't stop the ball without hitting the pin. Not to mention that, you know, here going into overpower, it's probably going to end up bringing it in just a bit too hot. So there you can see that it just kind of rolls through. And there you have that one. So let's see what I get in terms of a chest. Another silver. Dang. I was hoping to not have to waste the gems. I'm going to waste the gems of the one that I'm on. It's only 15 gems, plus I get rid of that Tour 3 chest as well. So I was hoping to avoid needing to do that, but maybe I get something good. Not really. So let me start this unlock. I'd like to get one more Tour 4 chest going. But all possible. Milano Hole 1. This is typically what I like to do on this hole, is lay up in the early stages. I feel I can shoot for eagle just a little bit easier if I go this way. So I'm looking at kind of about 2 rings over in this situation. Be just a tiny bit of overpower. Should be okay. Should be. Jeez. So that puts a lot of pressure on you when you make a mistake like that. I may have just put myself in kind of death. You really need to avoid that bunker, but you also need to avoid this rough. So I'm trying to really make sure that I didn't wind up over here. I need to get just a little bit more aggressive with that tee shot. But as I mentioned, you know, it's just as bad to put it in that back rough back there. So again, you know, the importance of just kind of keeping away from the mistakes is very, very important in these early levels. So here you can see my opponent just rolls into the rough as well. And again, what that does is it actually makes the hole longer. So that's one of the reasons that I kind of like to put it up here, because it gives me the option to hopefully get to the fairway, although we just got a headwind, which is going to severely put me in a little bit of more trouble. So what I'm going to try to do is probably bump it off this rough and just hope that I can get my perfect ball timing somewhat reasonable. So if I can bump it off the rough enough, I can just kind of scoot it up this fairway, hopefully still be able to make the pitch. And we'll have to just see where our opponent gets to as well. You can see we're both kind of right at that max range where it barely creeps onto the fairway, but he's using a power ball, so it extends just a little bit farther. So you can see I'm in the fairway, opponent's in the rough. A couple different ways I can go at this. You know, I could maybe go for a dunk here. You know, especially if I have the backspin to do so. It looks like I do. So I may just do this. Very, very little wind assist here. You can see I'm just going to basically put it right on the front edge of the cup here. Very, very, very minimal adjustment. Wind's really not going to affect it at 1.5 miles per hour too much. Biggest thing will just be about putting it into the center of the circle, so just make sure that you're careful with that. Sure enough, still get the birdie. 1,200 games, jeez. So it's tough when you match up against, you know, guys that have you so out-clubbed. But there you can see we're able to pick up a win here, avoid the shootout, which is nice. Anytime that you can do that, that'll be good. Let's see what we're looking at here for the chest. It looks like I got it, so I won't have to waste one more, which is nice. So I'm just going to kind of sit on that. Might just finish out this pin chest here. 4 more. Could maybe do 4 more games. Ugh. Disaster hole. A little bit more of a headwind. So with that being the case, I am going to switch the ball up just to kind of keep the shot a little bit longer. Very similar MO to what I did last time, which is going to be about 7 to 8 rings here, somewhere in here. And you can see I'm just a little bit shorter than last time. Biggest thing about this hole is just kind of avoiding the great balls. You may be able to get away with, you know, a great ball to the right, maybe. But the great balls to the left, off the tee, if you're not going to do the hook shot, can potentially put you into the rough. But also, you know, with the angle, you'll see that my opponent's going to be at least 10, 20 yards behind me. Even they outdrove me lengthwise, but I'm assuming, you know, well to the left. You can see, so they're still behind me. So very similar to what I did last time, just trying to, looks like I might actually get it to come off the backstop this time. So I won't have to quite pitch it. And guys, you know, especially in the early going, you can see my opponent using the vintage balls. You know, save those balls. They're good tournament balls. Save them for when you leave rookie altogether. You're not even going to see me use those in rookie. The biggest reason why not to use them is because they lower wind significantly. They almost half wind. So if I take a 1 wind and I reduce it to half a mile per hour, it's barely doing anything. And that's one of the biggest reasons not to do it. So this guy did short hit it. It might come up short, but it looks like it did stay on the fairway. So we'll see if he can roll that pitch in. What I like is using balls like that once it becomes expert or master level. So once we're talking about, you know, 11, 15 miles per hour, being able to reduce that to 5, 7, that's going to be what's ideal. So I have a good advantage on my opponent. I'd like to see that. Vineyard Acres par 3 that we just played last time, because I'd have a distinct advantage. On this one, I'm not going to have as much of an advantage. Oh, especially with him having a B52. But he probably can't backspin it. So I probably still do have an advantage. With only 2 bars of backspin, this actually turns into kind of a tough little shot here. Because you can't stop the ball. But it has very, very good accuracy. So all I should really need to do, more than anything, is hit the island. And it looks like with him missing the island, I could essentially just play this entirely different and just play it very, very safe. If I wanted to do so, I could just essentially go with this wood shot and just kind of hit it right into here. And even if I mess it up, it's still going to be a winning shot. So that is what I'm going to do. It's just kind of playing the safe way. It's overall not a bad shot anyway, but it doesn't really have the accuracy that I like to do that. So I really don't do that at all until kind of later, because it's going to be very, very tough for me to stop that ball or hit that surface on a great ball, for example. So it's nothing that I'm going to, kind of rely on. But if my opponent makes a mistake going first, and all I needed, if I would have hit a great ball there, it would have just dumped in the top of the bunker. I'd be closer to the hole. So I'm just kind of playing strategy there more than anything. So let's keep going, see if I can't get a perfect ball this time on this hole. Play this a little bit different. So we got a much easier wind. With that being the case, I'm probably going to go down to the basic ball. Very similar shot to what I did last time. Just going to try to curl it. No real power or anything. Just kind of attack the edge of the rough here. Another great ball. I think I'll be okay, because I was kind of aiming a little bit less aggressive. So you can see with the great ball left, it still doesn't get into the rough. So you'll see with the tailwind, oh my God, Jesus, what a ridiculous guy. 2,000 games in Tour 4, just playing down at 300 trophies. Oh, geez. So, going to be very, very tough to beat this opponent. So hopefully I can get the hole out on this eagle here on this second shot. May need it, because the shootout might be a nightmare. Of course, I'm playing somebody's 7-mile-per-hour wind. I'm going to kind of short hit it. As you can see, I'm kind of in between clubs. So what hopefully that's going to do is it's going to make it come in less hot. And it looks like I just missed the line. It was very, very close. I was trying to play about 2 rings there, kind of with some ball guide offset, and then just have it land just a little bit shorter, because you could see that I was kind of in between clubs. You can see going up against the backbone 9 going to be very, very challenging. I don't know why somebody has 300 trophies and 2,000 games. Basically just plays tours 1 through 4. And with their new matching algorithm, it means he's really never played tour 5 or 6 or any of that. So going to be very tough to beat this guy on the shootout. I need to think about a situation which is going to be good. And it might be the last hole we just played where I actually do that rough bump intentionally. It's really the only thing that I can think of. Which is going to require perfect ball if I have to do that. As you'll see, you're kind of in between club otherwise when that hole. If we get the Vineyard Acres, he's going to have a clear advantage on me because it's going to be tough for me to stop. It's going to be tough for me to stop the ball. Now this one's pretty good because this is in the golden shot. So, I already kind of know how to play it. However, I don't have much spin to kind of execute this shot the way that I want because I just brought basic ball. If I would have brought a Marlin, I'd have been a lot better off on this hole. So again, it is going to be a little bit challenging to beat my opponent. But if they do something incorrect or catch a bad... So if you hit this downslope instead of the upslope, you can see my opponent's trying to... It looks like he's trying to hit it into the upslope and then get it to just slowly roll down the hill. I used to play this way. I don't do it anymore because you can get a bad hop. And there you can see he hits the upslope and it rolls through. So that's why I don't play it that way anymore. Because it does make it just a little bit tougher. So the way that you're going to see me do it is the same way that you saw me play it with the golden shot. Is I'll just kind of line up to do more backspin, kind of aim over here, and just kind of, I'm going to have to utilize my curl this time around. And right around 3-ish backspin should be pretty good. I think it's somewhere right around here for the adjustment. You can see what I'm doing with the curl. It's going to pretty much utilize all the curl. Just kind of shoot it down there and just take the win here. Another pro guy. So this guy's also been in the game a very, very long time. Might have to play my opponent just a tiny bit here. See kind of what happens. What I like to do is I like to use katanas on this hole until I get, kind of the driver that I want. Because if you can get it thread up through here, it's very favorable. And I look at my opponent and... very, very tough opponent to play, but he doesn't have, quite the win percentage, but everything else he does pretty solid. So here you can see he just kind of rough bumps it through. It's going to make the whole play a little bit longer. What I'd like to do is I'd like to use, some kind of power ball. I might break out, I may try to thread it up through there. It's going to be very, very challenging to do. It's very, very risky to do what I'm about to do. Because I need to kind of, you can see how aggressive my line has to be. It really requires perfect ball. And it's also going to require a decent amount of power in this situation as well. And I missed my perfect ball. Probably going to roll through to the rough, which isn't necessarily, if it does, It's not the end of the world because I can just pitch it out to the top of this fairway and then still get to the green. We're going to pretty much get the same score as my opponent if I do that. If I have to just pitch over here, it's okay, because I could see that my opponent with the short drive isn't going to be able to get to the green anyway. So we're pretty much playing for 4. So, why not take a risk to get the 3 to potentially win outright? Is kind of the strategy that I'm using. So we'll just see how this lines up. I don't expect that I'll be able to get over. And it looks like I can't. As I mentioned, I can just lay up to the top here, and I'll still be able to get there anyway. So it's not make or break. So, and depending upon, I could potentially, pull this shot off. You can see I'm right towards max. I usually use very, very little spin here. 1.4. 1.4 miles per hour. I'm thinking very, very few rings, under a half, somewhere right around here. Very, very small ring adjustment. The same thing with this hole last time. I got a great ball. It's like the needle's just jumping on this hole. Like it's literally just flying past. It just will not stop. Because I release and it just slides right past. It's the same thing on the second shot that I had last time that I played it in the last guide. So we'll just pop this one in real quick, go to the shootout. Hopefully we can pick up the win. Another slam dunk. Unlocked an achievement. That's another reason to be dunking in the early stages. I think there's 2 or 3 achievements, maybe like 5, 10, and 100 dunks. Oh, wow. So what I typically do on this hole is a rough bump. When I have Goliath, I typically do a rough bump right here. It's going to be a very, very challenging hole with these early clubs. You see my opponent's going to use 1 backspin. Probably going to just play my opponent more than anything. Just try to figure out where their mistake is and then just try to improve upon it. And with that great ball, that's really going to slide the ball over here. Let's see if he clips the rough. It does look like he did grab it. Let's see if it rolls off the green or if it stays on. So it looks like he rolled down through. Good chance that I can beat him just by, taking care of business here. So again, you have to be thinking about things like ball guide expansion, for example. I'm just going to try to kind of intentionally take it off this side hill. And it's 6 rings, I'm thinking maybe I'll pull back a ring. I'm trying to just kind of land it towards the top there, towards the top of that rough. So perfect ball. And again, I'm just trying to basically just gently roll it down the hill because I saw my opponent's 11 yards. So with that being said, all I'm doing is just trying to funnel it down there very, very slowly. Make sure that I don't, and also don't take it over the green. I'd rather come off that side hill. So that way it just kind of ensures that it hits the rough and not the fairway surfaces. So it looks like one more game we got to do. In order to unlock this pin chest. Tough one. So again, it's just going to come down to making sure you get to the shootout. Don't force your hand too much with these early clubs. I'll probably use a Marlin here just to be on the safe side. And again, with that side spin or great balls, for instance, you just have to make sure that you do enough. And it looks like they did block it off to the left, so we could be looking at rough again here. Let's just take a look. And sure enough, it rolls through to the rough. Pretty much gives me a chance to pick up this win here. I may just try to, since this wind, well, it is kind of a tough wind though. I'm going to try to basically no power it and just kind of land towards this, kind of right in here. Great ball. Hopefully it doesn't clip the rough. Looks like I'm good. So I tried to stay just a little bit away. And as I mentioned, just get it up here far enough to get to the green. That's all I really care about. So you'll see, especially since I had a headwind, I played just a little bit different with my spin because I believe we had a tailwind last time. So you'll see that my spin may fluctuate from attempt to attempt. But again, it's going to be just about getting through the hole. I really don't care where the ball ends up. I don't want to challenge that neck up there. So you're not going to see me use much overpower on this one. In fact, once I start to unlock things like quarterback, that's what I'm going to use on this hole, if at all possible. Because it's just going to add that extra accuracy plus curl to really execute on this hole. Need somewhere around the neighborhood of 2 backspin. Just take off just a little bit of power for accuracy. You can see going into the orange. I think it'll just help me hit, close to a perfect ball. And that's all I really need to be, is close. Because I just need to get it up here somewhere. And you can see it was actually good weight anyway. It actually, right by the hole. And sure enough, there we are, able to pick up a win. I'm going to just clear this pin chest real quick and just be done with this one. So let's see what I get in the pin chest. Hopefully I can get another club unlocked, would be nice. $13 gems, can use those. Some dark cards. Well, I'll take that. I might need that thing. So, and I also got a Titan ball, so that'll come in handy. Try to save that for the tournament. And this club could come into, I'm assuming I'm gonna need this at some point with the tournament. So I'm just gonna go ahead and upgrade that. You can see I'm actually up to like 36,000 now too. So I can start to take care of some of these things. because these could come into play, especially during the tournament. So with that in mind, may as well just get rid of a couple of these. I can also get rid of this one. Those are some of the good upgrades to take care of. Grim Reaper, probably not going to use. Runner, not going to use. But let's just take a look at where we're finished up at. It looks like we have 41 games in. So 41 games in, almost getting to the point that we're grinding through Tour 4 here. You can see I'm just down to my last 50 trophies here. So potentially, at what am I getting? 14 per. And we're talking 4 games would be 52 or 56. So 4 games potentially. As long as I win all 4 games, I'll close Tour 4 out and I can start to think about Tour 5. However, you can see my coins are kind of on the short side. So it'll definitely be something that you need to consider. Something to also consider is may want to just go into the tournament first before dealing with a lot of the Tour 5. Maybe I can get the club cards to make Tour 5 more suitable for my bag. So something to just be thinking about, to also be thinking about things like your balls. So you can see my gems are very, very tight, and buying these are going to be very, very expensive. So you can see it's going to 9 balls would pretty much take up my allotment. And it would probably be more beneficial for me to buy things like katanas because it's going to be easier in the tournament to win titans. You'll be able to win titans in the tournament. So, good luck with your progress. Let me know how it's going. You can see the majority of what I'm trying to do is just keep the ball in play and avoid the mistakes. Or if I'm going to make a mistake, make sure I know where the mistake is going to lead to an okay situation. So let's look at that par 5 where I drove it into the rough. I wanted to get a little aggressive so I could potentially get the eagle over my opponent. However, I made a mistake. I knew I could just pitch out and still get to the green and still potentially make eagle that way as well. So don't try to do too much. This is the best advice I can have, and try to keep the ball in the fairway. As you can see, anytime my opponent was in the rough, I took advantage and was able to win without going to shootout. So do keep that in mind. Good luck. Let me know how it goes, and catch you guys next time.